Greetings, programs. This is Wretch. Welcome back to Vampire the Masquerade, Reckoning of New York. And in the last episode, guys, we once again saw several events through Patty's point of view, including Callie getting attacked by the initial group of hunters, and Patty actually just observing what was going on before directly interfering. So it's very interesting to see more aspects of Patty's personality, or personalities, kind of come out over the course of this. Now we move on to A is for Anarchy. We're headed to the Anarchs with my friend and informant Mato to provide some insight into the whereabouts of Callie's sire. One hopes. As it turns out, silence is not what happens when Callie gets into a car. She manages maybe half a minute of quietly looking around before her curiosity latches onto the selection of cassette tapes I've collected over the years. Another Bohemian Rhapsody? Seriously? I exaggerate the furrow of my brows, putting on a puzzled expression. Huh. Thought I only had one of them. Terrific. She burst into laughter. God forbid you get with the times, but how about a legit car radio? You know, to update your playlist? Says the one sporting a Walkman on her belt. She shrugs, seemingly offended. Is she trying to hide it? I like choosing what I listen to in the car, even when sometimes it happens to be Queen. Just saying, you're missing out on a whole lot if you ignore stuff from the 21st century. The music scene's been booming. You ever heard of K-pop? You're giving off some serious Sasang energy, my guy. Sasang? I've never heard about this band, but I'm willing to try it. Do you think any of them have released cassette tapes? Aside from our contrasting views on modernity, a little journey proceeds smoothly, which is perfect for me, but some kind of personal hell for Callie. She twitches in a seat, picking at her nails and bouncing her foot, and I'm just waiting for her to finally burst. Oh, holy shit, watch out! There it is. A disappointing attempt at diverting my attention toward nothing. The streets are as quiet as they come. We're gonna crash and... Seriously, are you a robot or what? No, just seasoned. And in the right mind. But she does have me intrigued. Give her friendly advice? Next time you try to scare somebody, be a bit more specific. It adds believability. What was that really about? Just the traffic driving me nuts. Thought I'd stir up a little chaos, a little bit of anarchy. Ah, of course. Is that your subtle way of inquiring about a seemingly touchy subject? You tell me. Then brace yourself for disappointment. My run-ins with the Anarchs aren't nearly as thrilling as you might hope. I paused briefly to collect my thoughts and start from the beginning. I landed in New York about 2 years ago. Shortly after, I managed to save a handful of kindred, mostly of the Anarch variety, although I do believe there was some Camarilla in the mix. It earned me what I would call tentative trust from talk, and not much else, as you might have assessed back in Elysium. Wow, how noble! So how did you go from kindred hero to Camarilla's gopher? I had to stop for a moment and consider the trajectory of my own life, especially since this kind of professional transition has happened to me more than once. I have a knack for playing peacemaker, apparently. And while Tor considers it an asset, the Camarilla thinks it's a chink in his armor. Compromise isn't really in their vocabulary, you know? She snorts inelegantly. Oh, I definitely do know. But if you save some Camarilla kindred as well, why not start with them and curry some favor? They're the fat cats of New York, right? I level her with an amused look. Yeah, and those fat cats delight in catching caitiff mice, you know? She goes quiet for a long while, squirming uncomfortably in her seat like an unwanted sprat flung back out to sea. Then she abruptly changes the subject. So we have the Camarilla and the Anarchs. That's pretty much standard fare. Anybody else to keep an eye out for? My dead heart skips a figurative beat. There is someone, in fact, who I really do not wish to mention. No. She eyes me suspiciously, but my face is inscrutably blank. Right. How about cool stories about the Anarchs? You seem to gel with them the most. Silence, lad. Silence. Tell her nothing. Shut your gob. My hands automatically come together and my fingers start fiddling with the ring. Ruin, carnage, calamity. Guard your secrets well, boy. Come on, I'm dying of boredom here. You must have some wild tales to tell, something not found in your pile of books. She'll see you through. The parasite, the husk, the endbringer. The friend, the confidant. One more spin. 20 on the die. My head falls quiet and my hands relax on the steering wheel. Well, no wild tales of my own, but I've spent my fair share of time talking to people, and some of them had amazing adventures. There you go. What kind of people were they? Thin bloods for the most part. I was particularly interested in one called Santa, but mentioning her tends to shut conversations down. Probably because she met a final death 4 years back, at the hands of the sheriff, no less. Kadir? Wow, she must have really stirred the pot. Well, she did go on a mortal killing spree, but I'm not one to judge whether or not the punishment fit the crime. Well, I know a thing or two about walking the line between right and wrong, so I don't think I'm in any place to judge her either. Still, what pushed her to do it? Callie seems to be a bit of an airhead, so even if she knows about Santa and my research, it's unlikely she'll discover anything about my identity. Or worse, my suspicions about the one true voice in my head. Right? Right? She claimed she was acting under orders from Cain, urging her to kill. He allegedly told Santa the end of the world is nigh, and somehow that devolved into a killing spree. And she never questioned why the creator of our whole species would specifically choose her? Just straight up went on a rampage? Well, maybe the voice was really convincing, Callie. Maybe she went through all the other possible answers and none of them fit. Or maybe she was simply truly insane. I don't say that out loud, of course, but I really want to. Look, I'm just telling you what I've heard. I never met Santa myself, I just found her condition fascinating. She waves her hands defensively. Hey, no need to get worked up. I glanced at your research notes. I know you're really into the inner voices stuff. I'm not judging, it's just I don't want to know where this is going. How about we see who can stay silent the longest? It's just that you have some really niche hobbies, you know? May I interest you in, don't know, crocheting or something? It's a lot less intense than chasing crazies. My loud, long-suffering sigh successfully ends our conversation, but there's a gallingly satisfied grin on her face. Gallingly. I pull up to Mato's shop, much to Callie's bewilderment. Are you sure this is the spot? I can ask for directions or something. I ignore her and focus on parking, slowly and carefully aligning my car with the curb. Last time I left it here, somebody tore off one of the side mirrors, so some precautions are definitely in order. Finally satisfied, I turn the engine off. Let's go. And I get out of the car. It takes her a while to follow suit. Did she expect some kind of ceremony? But she catches up as I set foot into the shop. Mato, are you here? A huge burly kindred steps out from the shadows, quieter than a mouse. His grime-covered arms are all set to give me a bear hug, but I manage to stop him with a warning look. Paddy, you're looking good, my man. What can I do for you? Need me to take a look at that old clunker of yours? My clunker is in top shape, thank you, Mato. Besides, I can see you're rather busy tonight. Still, I hoped you would have a moment for a few questions, though. It won't take long. Mato erupts into laughter, patting me on the shoulder. Thankfully, I'm now well acquainted with his habits and managed to brace myself in time, so Mato's gigantic hand doesn't throw me off balance. Not this time, at least. Anything for you, my man. And speaking of, who's this you brought? Mato's gaze cuts right through Callie, his hawkish eyes surprisingly cool and sharp despite his rugged exterior. She seems to sense that he's sizing her up expertly and tries to puff up a bit, to no avail. Mato, meet Callie. She's got in a bit of a situation with the Ivory Tower. You see, well, to put it short, her execution is on hold provided she delivers the council Hasiah's head on a silver platter. Mato lets out a long whistle in grudging respect. Damn, what's your sire accused of? That's kind of what we're trying to piece together. You ever come across a lick who goes by Reynard Castle? Reynard, huh? Can't say it rings a bell. What's his deal? Blood trade, among other things. On purpose, I say the words quietly, sharply, with no hesitation. I've learned that with Mato there's no use in beating around the bush, and that topic of blood trade is an extremely touchy subject for him, given his Tremere heritage. Best to rip that bandage off as quickly as possible. Mato remains silent and motionless for a moment, while the tension in the air builds like a wall. I left that shit behind, man. You know that. I know. Believe me, we're not here to dredge up the past. We just need a direction. Nothing more, nothing less. Surely there's someone who's still in the loop. Someone who might have heard some rumors. He's avoiding my eyes, fiddling with a rag. Damn it, might have to push even further. I get it. It's a difficult situation for you, but I was really hoping you could help me out here. You know, I would not hesitate to reciprocate as I have in the past. Yeah, I know. He seems more resigned than irritated, but still refuses to speak. Eyes downcast, body language borderline deer in headlights. His obstinance is, frankly, extremely vexing. I'm about to double down on a guilt tripping, but when I shoot Callie a quick look, she smiles and steps forward. You see, I've only known Patty here for what, a single night? Turns out that's more than enough to figure out he's pretty good at killing the vibe when he puts his mind to it. Patty? I think I let her into my haven last night. You ungrateful brat. And that traitor, Mato, laughing at my expense. She's trying to manipulate him, I get it. That doesn't mean I'm any less irritated. Look, I don't know the first thing about you. The whole blood trade drama or whatever, that's none of my business. I'm not about to dig in your dirt. Survival's the game we're all playing, right? It's interesting, the way she speaks. Almost as if somebody put those words in her mouth. So, I'll back off. Plus, I'm in a spot where I really can't afford to have anyone else in this town be pissed off at me. Yeah, gotcha. It's just that... no need to spell it out for me. Gnarly past are sort of my thing, you know? Let's just drop the whole shebang, aight? He nods hesitantly while she smiles and takes a few steps toward a motorcycle in the back. I gotta say though, you've got quite the setup here. Wait, is that a ZX-10R? What? Oh, right. Picked up super cheap from some diva over in Long Island a few weeks ago. The guy had a nasty crash, pretty much wrecked it, but he had no clue about the gem he was letting go of. I will not lie, the moment they start chittering excitedly, my ears fully shut off and my mind goes blank. I've never been interested in motorcycles, not even when they had me ride one back in the army. But it does seem Callie and Mato are bonding over that mechanical monstrosity. Perhaps she can use that to our advantage. I come to when they near the end of their conversation. Well, I'm always on the hunt for a good find. I can't guarantee this model, but if I come across another butte like this, I can hold on to you if you're interested. You know what? I might take you up on that offer. I just gotta deal with this Camarilla situation first. Ah, yes. A clever segue back to the root of our problem. She's softened Mato up, but it seems I'm the one to deliver the coup de grace. Mention other contacts? We should go, Callie, and find actual answers elsewhere. I might have another contact with some intel, but we need to make an appointment post-haste. Sorry to bother you, Mato, and thank you for your time. Callie winces a little, and Mato looks at me with profound sadness in his eyes. I quickly turn away. I'm not immune to the face of a scolded puppy. See you around, I hope. And if not, Patty here will give you my regards. Not with her Patty again. But for what it's worth, our improvisation seems to have worked. We take only a few steps toward the exit when Mato curses under his breath and speaks up. Hold up. I shoot Callie a meaningful look, but it vanishes by the time we both turn back to the friendly giant. Mato's gnawing at his bottom lip and twisting the rag between his fingers. Yes? I really am out of that business, Patty. I know, Mato. Still, some whispers find their way to my ears. Nobody likes gossip more than a buzzed-up kindred. Ain't that the truth? Usually comes in real handy, too. Yeah, so there's this thin-blood alchemist. Skylar is her name, I think. Hangs around at Sunny's a lot. Sunny's? Interesting. Empire of the Sun. It's a local Anarch dive. Yeah, exactly. Sunny's. If anybody knows anything about the blood trade, it's her. She's the only albino around, too, so you won't mistake her for none. Thank you, Mato. I will surely repay this favor. Call upon me anytime you wish. I owe you big time. Who knows? You might have saved my skin there. He gets a little flustered, waving his enormous hands around. Don't mention it. Still, we should get going. Take care. Not so fast, runt. And here I thought the stench of rotten sulfur would have alerted me to her presence. Miss Sorrento, what a pleasure. She glares at me, absolutely livid, and I fight to keep my wits about me. She's such a despicable woman. Torque needs you. Now. Does he now? Why? I came here to tell you, not to bait you, Caitiff. Figure it out on your own. I can feel my teeth crack as I gnash them in a desperate attempt to keep my cool. Maim her. Strangle her. I spin my ring until it lands on 20 and take back my mind. Fine. Let's get moving. Callie? I don't think you heard me right. Torque summoned you. Your Ravnos pup is not invited. She turns on a heel and walks off into the night before I can even roll my eyes. The cluttered car shop suddenly feels a touch more welcoming, as if starlight broke through after a storm. Mato gives me another one of those awkward shoulder pats, but I will admit, it does have a relaxing effect on me. I find myself still clutching the ring, so I lower my hands before they attract too much attention. I mean, don't get me wrong, the company I keep is far from nice, but damn if she's not the bitchiest of them all. Yeah, kind of. Name's Mia, Torque's enforcer. Sort of big fish round here. I mutter angrily under my breath. Thankfully, there are always bigger fish in the pond. Easy, Patty. You wouldn't want her catching wind of that. I clear my throat in a uselessly mortal manner. Seems I was right about Callie's company bringing out that part of me. Right. I believe that's our cue to go. Thanks again, Mato. Don't mention it. And hey, you're welcome back anytime. Both of you. You got it. Later. I could barely see Callie and my surroundings through the red mist of fury. The voices in my head aren't even awake, but I still furiously spin my ring in a fruitless pursuit of peace of mind. And then, Callie decides to speak up. Not gonna lie, I don't think I've ever met a kindred as charming and likable as Mato. What's his deal? Where's he hiding the bodies? From what I gather, his skeletons are buried deep in his past. Mato used to be quite the skilled thaumaturge once, delving into the darker arts, albeit reluctantly. His side can be quite intense. Aren't they all? Sure. To my surprise, this mindless conversation helps me relax and forget about Mia Sorrento bossing me around. I straighten up a little and put my hands into the pockets of my coat, inhaling deeply as we walk. So, what's the plan now? I have to go see Torque. Yeah, I gathered, but Scary Enforcer Lady made it clear I wasn't invited to the party. You'll just have to wait in the car then. Look, as much as I consider your perfectly serviceable car to be excellent company, we both know I can't just sit around doing nothing. And maybe I could get a hold of a crochet kit for you. You could use a new hobby. Besides, this shouldn't take too long. Oh, I've got hobbies, just so you know. Besides you and your endless debates, I'll be old and gray before you come back, and that's not even an option anymore. Like, seriously, you handle Torque, and I'll head over to Sunny's to look for that Skylar girl. That's not happening. Oh, come on. I've been the very model of temperance tonight. We've only been awake for mere hours. Splitting hairs. I'm heading to Sunny's to wait for you there. A scout's honor. Stick together. Together you must. You have to. Together. Together. I sigh and rub tiredly at my eyes. The night has just started and I'm already longing for slumber. If we only had some means of long-distance communication at hand, can you imagine what we could do if we were able to hear our voices from miles apart? Alas, reality is much more cruel, at least under Camarilla rules. Yeah, we could always try using pigeons. New York's got no shortage of them. Oh, so you're a comedian now. Hilarious. My mouth twitches, wanting to smile, but I manage to suppress it. Look, it seems we're out of options here. You'll have to come with me and wait for a bit. I'll figure out what Torque wants from me, and then... Don't let her out of your sight. She'll bring naught but doom. Engrossed in battle for mental control, I barely notice Callie's hand wave in front of my face. I keep spinning my ring as if my own life depended on it. Because it probably does. Let her go, Fionn. A 20. Finally. I breathe a sigh of relief and look at Callie seriously. Alright. Let's meet at Empire of the Sun in an hour. She gawks at me, jaw on the ground. Wait, hold up. For real? Empire of the Sun, 1 hour. Do not let me down. And before she even has a chance to say anything remotely silly, I turn on my wheel, hop into my car, and drive off into the night. Cruising through the streets of New York City, I let my mind wander to Sorrento's message and the urgency with which she delivered it. I can't be sure if this matter is as important as she made it seem. Sometimes Torque summons me when he's genuinely concerned about the well-being of the Anarchs. Sometimes it's to complain about the council being particularly vexing that night. Sometimes it's just to remind me where I exactly stand on the local food chain. Normally, I don't mind. The benefits I reap from having Torque's protection far outweigh all the indignities that await me night after night. He's useless, thankless. What a dumb fuck. But I'm somewhat occupied at present, so Torque had better have a damn good reason for summoning me like a djinn from my lamp. Spinfluence. The constant interruptions vex me to no end. How can I keep an eye on Callie when there's always another trivial demand for my attention? This time, it's Torque's call that I must answer. This isn't the first time I've been invited to see Torque at his brewery. Seems like a rather casual space. Hipster even, as I've heard some of the younger Anarchs call it. But appearances can most certainly be deceiving. I've taken part in casual, borderline friendly meetings here, but most of them, in fact, were about waging war or avoiding it. Tonight, something seems off about the place. Mia is prominently absent. How devastating. But the security around Torque has definitely been heightened. Is he expecting some kind of attack? I mean, beyond the baseline threats, of course. When I walk in, he's leaning on a snooker cue, staring silently out of the window. I know he's aware of my arrival, although he neither turns around nor speaks. Seems that it falls to me to expedite this meeting. The powers that be never understand the value of time. You wanted to see me, so here I am. So you can show up on the dot if you want to. No troublemakers on your path this time, huh? I refuse to take the bait. None. I do need to hurry back, though. I can sense the raven's eagerness to fly away, especially with nobody to keep an eye on it. Torque finally turns around to face me, eyebrows raised in confusion. Why didn't you bring her along, then? Bollocks. I should have known it was just Sorrento making unlife difficult for me. I can't exactly say that loud, of course, so I just shrug helplessly. Before I can fabricate some rationale, Torque has already moved on to another topic. How's the investigation going? Any luck with smoking Castle out from whatever foxhole he crawled into? Not yet, but we have a few leads. He tilts his head in consideration. Do you believe that the girl's complicit in Castle's dirty work? Got a real talent for trickery, that one. Well, I've known her for a grand total of one night, so this opinion may be unfounded, but she's either an innocent or unwitting cover for Castle, or she's one of the best actresses I've seen in a long time. And I know she can act, but it's hard to believe that she could be that good. I see. Well, I'd say that we should hope she is for her own sake, but we all know guilt and innocence hardly matter in the Council's eyes. Warping reality to support their claims is far more important to them. I just nod silently. I had nothing to add. Is that why you wanted me here? To discuss the Raven? Don't be ridiculous. Here. He tosses me a snooker cue. You can keep track of scores while I deliver your rebuke. Ah. Here we go again. Your tardiness yesterday was a really bad move, Padraic. I'd understand fashionably late, but this was a straight-up display of weakness. And you know how I feel about displaying weakness in front of the Council. He takes a few skillful shots before missing one of the balls by a hair. Clearly a seasoned player. But so am I. Avoiding surveillance isn't a weakness. It's a matter of safety. It's a matter of respect, or rather the lack of it, when you show up so late while sheltered by my shadow. Despite the value of your insights to both the Camarilla and Anarchs, and to me most of all, your recent behavior reflects poorly on our relationship. What he says makes enough sense to throw me off my game. I bungle a shot miserably and step away from the table. I apologize, but may I speak frankly? You may. You consider my late arrival a show of weakness, but this caution of yours, oversensitive or not, that is for me to decide, is the kind of behavior that makes you appear weak. I've heard some whispers among the Anarchs that maybe they don't need a Baron after all. Torque laughs bitterly and hits the ball with much more strength than required, and it almost jumps off the table entirely. They think I'm weak because I'm not trying to show off in front of the Council, to make us feel superior to the Ivory Tower. I'm not weak. I'm pragmatic. This song and dance is about appearing confident and stalwart enough for the Camarilla to actually shut up and listen for once. Maintaining good relations with them has thus far only benefited the Anarchs. I hate acting like I'm trying to ingratiate myself with them. Believe me, I do. But it works. Oh, he's so right. Never fails. Baron of barons. This time, one spin of the rings enough to silence the voices, but the message is troubling. Let him win or crush him. Crush him! I division myself perfectly and take a few precise shots, earning myself a nice handful of points. Torque's face falls. And how do you believe other Anarchs view this perspective of yours? Torque stands up straight, looking at me with his sharp and serious eyes, and lays down the snooker cue flat on the table. Seems our little game's over. That's precisely what I want to discuss tonight. I nod, but hesitate. Is this about Mia? Torque's silence is all the confirmation I need. A moment passes before he speaks again. I've been considering removing her from the equation. It's not exactly surprising, but more audacious than I expected. You know there's no love lost between me and Mia Sorrento, but I would be careful about messing with her. She embodies the Anarch ideals and holds more sway than you among the lower ranks in the Bronx, and they are not few in number. I'm not blind, Padraic. I'm just trying to look outside the box that currently confines me. For a few For a few seconds, he looks his real age. An old man, squashed beneath the heavy burden of responsibility he tries to balance on his shoulders. But this moment passes as quickly as it came. Then he's back to his 30-something self. Well, from where I stand, everything you do is for the benefit of the Anarchs. But they might not see it that way. I believe that removing Mia might incite an unnecessary revolt. And it's the last thing we need in these perilous times. Torque inclines his head in contemplation, humming quietly to himself while looking me straight in the eyes. The lack of response paired with that intense gaze makes me decidedly uncomfortable. I can only assume he's awaiting for me to continue. You already know my thoughts on this, but I still think that if she wanted to overthrow you, she would act on the idea immediately. She isn't much of a schemer, but rather an impulsive doer. It's impossible to predict. Which unfortunately means that your static position on this unenviable chessboard makes victory highly unlikely. She knows all your available moves, while you know nothing about hers. For what it's worth, I do not sense a revolt coming just yet. Perhaps she hasn't quite given up on you, or perhaps... Silence falls while Torque considers my words. You've given me a lot to think about, Padraic. You may leave now. His end is nigh. He turns away, facing the window with a certain finality. I nod and quietly slink out of the room, wondering how his future will unfold. Whew. Alright guys, well, it looks like Torque's grip on the Anarchs is starting to slip away to a more, let's say, volatile replacement, which I don't think would help matters much in New York with everything else going on. But Patty said his piece, but I think he knows via the voices that Torque's days are numbered. And looks like he's about to have a conversation with himself in the car, and that's where we will start in the next episode. Hope you all have enjoyed it. If you liked the video, please leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, that'd be a big help. I will see you next time. Later days, everyone.